Hey guys, thanks for tuning into episode 11 of the podcast. On this episode, we sort of discuss a couple of interesting fitness facts that Corey presents to us from a few research assignments he's just recently completed. Hope you enjoy.
Mads, Catch-22. Explain it. So the term Catch-22, why is it? We were thinking about it and we don't know why it actually is called Catch-22.
Yeah.
So Mads has done some research. She put a little scientist hat on.
No, I didn't. Google did.
Her white coat.
Is your Google now doing that thing where the first result is like an AI thing, where it tells you the answer through AI? Mine started doing that.
No.
Instead of it just being the first result, it
I
gives
actually
you
like that about apps. Like
No, mine's still Wikipedia.
I've noticed it more recently is that like apps don't roll out a feature set like all at once, or websites don't roll out a feature set all at once. They stagger it. So like for example, my Aura Ring, like the app's been updated, but I didn't get the update straight away. I got it like a week and a half later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense as well from a security perspective. If there's some flaw and people get hacked, at least not everyone's getting hacked, you know?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
Anyway, Catch-22.
Yeah. What is it? How do you explain it?
Catch-22, they say that it's an impossible situation or a difficult situation in the meaning where you can't do one thing without the other, and you can't get to the second thing without the first thing.
Yeah.
But apparently they named it 22 because back in during the wartime, there was this pilot and the meaning 22 in their book of dictionary or whatever for meanings in the army meant that he had to be physically and psychologically sane to fly a pilot, and that was by definition 22 or something in their army things. So
here we go. And now you know the age-old
I feel
question.
more confused now, but I had no idea before, so I'm getting there. What was that thing we were talking about the other week, which was what was the origin of that phrase? Remember in a session someone had said a phrase, and I'm like, what is the origin of that? Because it makes no sense to me. Do you remember
What was
it at all?
it?
I don't remember it.
Oh, that's going to annoy me
that
the whole
happens a lot.
time.
I don't know if you were there. I think it was maybe Veronica who said it, and then we said, what does that even mean?
That happens a lot.
That's going to annoy me. You shouldn't have said that.
I'm sorry. You might not talk for the rest of the podcast,
No,
but
I'm
if you
just
come
gonna
up
be
with the answer to
thinking about
that,
it.
then that's fine.
Can we cut a few times to Maddie's head, just thinking thinking of
It's like the algebra things in my brain.
Yeah.
What was it?
Yeah, today's episode we're going to talk about, I guess, Corey did an assignment.
No,
I
I just got notes. Good
You got
notes. Good study notes.
from studying recently for his most recent.
It sort of collates everything that we sort of harp on about a lot individually, but I think putting it all together is sometimes quite helpful because for people that are sort of still learning about, I don't know what the word is, health, fitness, exercise, there's a lot of information. None of it's hard, but all linking it together is a process that takes a while, I think.
Yeah.
As part of our learnings over the years, it sort of clicks in place, but to begin with, it's quite overwhelming to understand the whys, the hows, etc. So I thought I'd collate a little bit of information, but we'll kind of free flow the conversation, and then I'll just throw some random facts in there here and there if I feel need be.
Yep.
But I think the first point of where do we start with this conversation, and again, it'll flow into the next section, and the next section after that is why do people exercise? Or what do we think? What is the reason people exercise?
Why do they start exercising or engage or join a gym? I think most of the time...
Even before that, why do people consider starting exercise, right? Because often what's overlooked is the process of actually starting doesn't just happen, thought of it today, start tomorrow. It takes sometimes 6 to 12 months before you even actually step foot in the door. You know?
Yeah. I think for the most part, from our experiences, people are thinking about it because of weight loss and wanting to look better and feel better.
Yeah, that's correct. It's appearance based, right?
Yep.
Closely followed by, I reckon now, what's the word for social proof? Is it social proof?
Right. If people are
other people
are doing it.
Yeah, so I need to be seen to be doing it. You're probably actually not wrong.
Especially now for people I feel in our age bracket, they're just seeing it all over their social
and I think
media.
It's happening younger and younger.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm definitely having conversations with parents that we train that have kids that want to get into training because their other friends are into training.
Yeah.
What-
Or they have like
Which is not a
older
bad thing,
siblings.
but yeah.
Well, we
They're
even
doing
see
it.
it. I mean, you're right. It's sort of, I think, probably 90s and beforehand, exercise, particularly in an indoor setting,
Yeah.
was fairly fringe, like fairly niche. Not many
Yeah,
people doing
yeah.
it, right?
Yeah.
Become
Like an actual gym.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then
They
it
might
was,
do
and then it
sports.
was seen at that time as just something, you know, bodybuilder bros do, and now it's sort of being seen as something that anyone of any age can do.
Yeah.
And that's great for us. But even like when we have, you know, someone brings their kid in for a session, you know, and then, you know, they need,
When they can't be left at home.
they can't be left at
Yeah,
home.
yeah, yeah.
They-
Yeah.
Even, you know, young kids love the gym.
They love running.
And so in a way you feel like, oh, look, there's no doubt in my mind that in 8 years when this person is a teenager and can sign up to a gym, that they'll want to because they've had a positive experience. They enjoyed the atmosphere and just the equipment. It's like a big playground really for
Playground,
adults.
Yeah.
Which is great, right? But I think, yeah, you're right, going back to the point, which is that primarily it's all around appearance, regardless of, you don't really care about how much better your lungs are for exercise, really. You care about what's on the outside.
Yeah.
I do think that, like, I've definitely over the years had conversations at initial consults with a few people where their motive, like, I want to lose weight to be healthier, but like, it's a health scare that's happened.
Yeah.
They've been to their doctor, or, you know, they had chest pain, or, you know, something's happened to them that some sort of trauma has happened.
Either that or it's like
they're
childbirth.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people
Post-
just say they just want to like be able to live with their kids, probably because their parents have
Yeah.
maybe died young or something.
Yeah.
That also impacts them. We have a lot
I
of
reckon
people.
it's like their parents died,
Yeah.
they had a near-death experience,
yeah.
or they had a child born. Like, they're pretty common as well,
Yeah.
outside of the weight loss and looking better and feeling better thing. Yeah.
So that's, I guess, the reasons that people
Reasons.
decide to start.
Yep.
And then I guess what's the next step? The next step is kind of, you need to come up with multiple reasons to continue, right? That's the next stage, because motivation comes and goes. You know, the day one that you step in the gym is probably the day you're the most motivated, and then reality hits. And then, you know, you
We
realize...
actually see this happen a lot because we do our 2-week trial, right? And like, people are so excited to get started. They're so excited to do a 2-week trial. But the amount of people that rock up to that first session and then come to the second, that's still pretty high. And then, because we have 2 weeks that you can keep training for free just to see if you like it, the first week is pretty good and the second week is not great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Why do you think that
I
is?
think people are excited about it still for that first week.
The novelty wears off very
Novelty
quickly.
wears off really quickly.
Like,
you're
oh,
right.
I actually have to do something.
I have to put in some.
It's actually hard.
not
It's
easy.
hard. It's not easy. It's hard
Yeah.
work. It requires like quite a significant, what feels like significant time in your week that is now going
It's a
to something
commitment.
else, which therefore takes away time in your week where you used to do other things, you know?
Yeah.
And therefore the time commitment and feeling like, oh, now I've got this extra thing that takes up 3-4 hours of my week. Now I'm not feeling like I get my me time or whatever it might be.
Because it's not a
There's-
commitment that you're forced to do. Like, people will commit to work because, like, they have to pay bills. Anything else, like, you don't have to commit to.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So
You don't
it's
have
like
to
people
rock up.
just
You have to
can't
rock
really
up to your
fuck.
job.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
But you don't have to rock up to those extracurricular
No.
things, right? Yeah. So what do you think, I guess, a list of, I mean, you talked about things like health scares. What are the reasons, or what are some of the extra benefits, rather than just appearance, of exercise?
Yeah, obviously your heart and cardiovascular fitness and health.
Yeah.
bone, joints, muscle, like longevity when you get older.
I don't have this stat on my piece of paper, but I do remember there being quite a strong correlation in grip strength and
Yes.
time left to live.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
What?
yeah.
There's a direct correlation between that.
What do you mean?
What that actually is not to say you just train your grip strength and you'll live to 100. What it's actually saying is grip strength is just a way. Your handshakes could be a lot stronger, I feel, Mads. Practice
What?
that. And yours too.
Well,
Since when have I
don't
given you a
try.
handshake?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how would you
Start
know?
doing it more, you'll get a stronger grip.
Yeah. I try not to give a strong handshake.
Wait,
Yeah,
what is this?
People have
He
mentioned
got-
it.
he
What is this
roasted the other day for
correlation?
this.
Yeah, because
Okay, so-
everyone's just like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, settle down, you
Yeah,
fucking
yeah.
hero.
Yeah.
What is...
And we're pretty strong, Matt, so we don't want to try and up one
Yeah.
people. Corey's still got someone to prove out here. He's trying to up
We
one
actually have to
everyone.
go light, and then
medium.
that's like
Yeah.
strong for them, but that's just us like.
Yeah, we're just chilling. We don't want to break people's hands.
Good if I want to, I don't want to.
Yeah. Bone density, I'll show you.
Oh, Jesus.
You're just going for the pressure point, like right there.
Just crush him. Let's get back to topic. So
Yeah, what's this correlation
the
between grip
correlation?
strength?
Yeah.
Okay, so the correlation is that if you get 100 people in a room, and particularly of like an older age group, so like, you know, some people that are in their older years,
Yeah.
and you get them to do like one of those
A group
squeeze
strength.
Yeah.
group strength tests, squeeze things, and measure how much force they can generate. That's a pretty damn strong indicator in that room of 100 of the order of who's going to die next, who's going to die after that, who's going to die after that. And the person with the best grip strength statistically will probably live the longest out of that
Yeah,
group.
but why?
Because grip strength is just a way to measure muscle.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Your
So
grip
how
strength
strong
is related
someone's
to-
like
yeah.
Yeah.
bones or joints, muscles are.
No, they're actual muscles,
Muscle.
right?
Oh,
So
okay.
as you
Also-
lose muscle, you're closer to death because
Yeah.
you're atrophying over time, right? If you lose a significant amount of muscle, everything collapses after that, right?
Well, what
your
about-
posture, your...
Well, the outlier there is like, what about all these people that are like super, super muscly and inject for ages and then die?
Well, that's heart related. And also that's not the average person in a
Yeah, you take
nursing home.
100 people in a nursing home, I reckon maybe 0.2 of them have done steroids.
Probably not even.
No,
not
no,
now.
Not
We're
right
talking
now.
Not the
Jet-
ones
jet
in
pop.
right now, yeah.
When
Jet
we
pop.
get older, the nursing home will be different.
You won't make it to the nursing home.
No. It's also an indicator of what they've done with their life, right? How much grip strength they have at that age is an indicator of how they live their life.
Yeah.
Have they been some of the weight trains? Did they do a manual labor job?
Are they active?
Are they active? Do they still using their grip? So like,
Because if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
Yeah.
So muscle mass is also a thing of like, if you've just been sedentary in your later years,
Yeah.
you're not going to have muscle, you're not going to have grip strength.
Yep.
That's not all though, right? Like, so that was just a stat off the top of my head. But we also have, well, the first one and the most important one is risk of cardiovascular disease, which is what, the biggest killer
Yeah.
in Australia?
Yep.
In probably
Moment.
every country, every developed country.
Every developed country, I think, is the highest.
I have a question
Yeah.
that I need you guys to answer, actually.
Yeah.
Visceral fat.
Yep.
How do you get that? How do you increase visceral fat? Like, obviously you don't want to, but
Yeah,
like, how
yeah.
does one, what is the main source of,
It's exactly the same process as subcutaneous fat. It's no different.
oh,
Yeah.
but it just hides, it's just
It's
underneath
hidden, and that's why it's dangerous. So like someone could have it and not know, and you know, this is the old, you know, I want to lose fat here, and when I gain weight, I always gain it here first, right? It's not by design that we gain it here or there. It's that like genetically, like unfortunately, I gain it in my hips first, right? And we hear this happen all the time, and there'll be some people that genetically gain visceral fat sooner than they gain subcutaneous fat.
yeah.
And so then what happens is
But is visceral more dangerous than?
Yeah.
it is
Yeah.
because it's surrounding your organs,
Organs,
and your
yeah.
vital organs, right?
Yeah.
Opposed to adipose fat, which is like
Yeah. So how
it's
do
still
you?
bad, but like nowhere near as bad.
So how do you stop?
How do you stop?
Like, how do you not put on visceral fat if you're like still putting on normal fat, right? Body fat.
You can't. You don't pick it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what
Just-
is there anything that you can do, or is it just purely based on like what
th-
foods you're
that's
eating?
that's like girls want to grow ass, and yeah, you can train glutes, but if I could inject some fat there,
Yeah,
awesome.
okay.
But like, yeah, you can't pick it. So if you wanted to bulk up, you're not picking where it goes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I
Which
think
happens.
it would not be wrong in saying that, like, if you were quite lean and then you started to bulk and gain body fat, that it would initially go to visceral.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
feel like
this is what I'm
visceral is
trying to
a
say.
consequence usually of a long period
Years.
Yeah.
of fat growing on your body due to an excess in energy intake.
But I think that there are the outliers of so yeah, I think
yeah, you're right.
I think that most people gain adipose
Yeah,
and
adipose,
subcutaneous fat first, and then visceral.
Right.
But they're the outliers, and that's why it's such a silent killer. Where people you don't look at them and go, oh, that person's got a bunch of excess fat to lose, but they could be really unhealthy still.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're like, oh, that person dropped dead in heart disease, and we knew they ate like shit, but look at them, they look fine.
Yeah.
Like that's why because it's an outlier is why we hear about those stories. Like you don't hear about the person that looks overweight and has a bunch of extra fat passing away from heart disease and go, oh yeah, you're like, yeah, I kind of expected that. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, you don't hear about those stories.
No.
Yeah.
Other reasons to exercise from a purely physical health and mental health perspective are decreased risk of mortality, which is decreased risk of death, early death, life years increase. Prevention and or delay of high blood pressure. That's a big one.
Yep.
A lot of people just get medicated for when their blood pressure's high, when it probably could be quite easily cured or prevented or reduced by just increasing exercise.
Yep. And I think that I was as early as a PT, I was like chuck people on statins, which is what they use to medicate high blood pressure. But you've got to think about the problem at scale. And now I'm like, if someone needs to go on statins, and we know they're not going to exercise.
Oh, right, yeah.
Let's try and convince everyone to exercise because it reduces the risk and reduces blood pressure. We know that for a fact. But now I'm not anti-statins because, I know that, for example, my dad is not going to go to the gym and he's got high blood pressure. So, yes, chuck him on statins.
Yeah, that's the best case scenario for someone like that, yeah.
And then it's, yes, you're safeguarding them from the risks of high blood pressure. And yes, we should try and convince them to do some exercise. Doesn't have to be in a gym. Could be outside. Could be at home. But, I think...
Yeah, something.
I'm not anti-medication for drugs that we know have a low risk to benefit ratio, right? And statins are actually one of those where it's like, we just chuck them on. It's a no-brainer.
Not many side effects.
How does that lower the blood pressure?
I can't remember the exact mechanism of it. There's a whole...
I do know the answer to this, but I think it's going to be a hard, long explanation. Basically, your cardiac output, it's quite a simple equation, and you can basically just play around with one or two things to reduce or increase blood pressure. I think it's to do with how... I can't remember the word, elasticity of the veins, or venous return it's called. So if you want to lower blood pressure with a drug, you just have a drug that opens up
those veins.
Your arteries, and then that will subsequently force blood pressure to drop.
Right.
Because your problem is it's too restrictive. I mean, there's multiple things it can be, but generally it's that, okay, you've got too much restriction in your arteries for a reason, for a particular reason, and it just forces them to loosen up.
Yeah.
Artificially.
And for the purpose of this, what are the main reasons? What are the main causes of high blood pressure? Just give us 3.
Reasons for high blood pressure?
Yeah.
I don't think I can.
Really?
Off the top of my head.
I think stress. Big one.
As in physical stress?
Yeah. Not even that, just even mental stress. People would tend to have,
Oh, well, I guess that could probably flow into... I mean,
stress. Diet,
yeah.
we know that.
Yeah.
And that's to do with probably high sodium as well.
High sodium as well. And then there's also the genetic component where some people are more predisposed to getting it as well. Sri Lankans, we know have all the killers.
Is that because of the diet that you guys have just had?
It could be. 100%. Could be diet related. I'm more likely to eat what my dad ate. My dad's more likely to eat what his parents ate.
Yeah.
So yes, it could be diet related.
And what's the average? Sorry, guys, I'm quizzing. What's the average sodium intake for a person? What is it 2,000?
2,100 milligrams.
Yeah.
I think.
It's not something we really track. That we actually for a long time we were like, sodium's, I think, correlated to poor eating, but you had had this the other day.
This was a recent thing.
Yeah.
So I always assumed that it wasn't so much sodium that was a problem, it was the correlation between generally high sodium foods tend to also be kind of trash food, right?
Yeah.
So it's likely that if you're on a high sodium diet, it's probably because you're eating like trash.
Yeah.
And the actual thing that needs to change there for health reasons is not to reduce your sodium, it's to reduce the trash, which will subsequently reduce sodium.
Yeah.
It turns out I was wrong on that. And the reason that you don't want a high sodium diet, regardless of whether you're just salting, your chicken and rice, in excess, salt, I should say, is that over time, salt in the actual arteries will cause the arteries to lose that elasticity that we were talking about just before.
Oh.
So it hardens your arteries, which means that they don't have the ability to constrict and dilate
Yeah.
as much, which then causes high blood pressure problems, right? Which is why high sodium diets are correlated to high blood pressure.
Makes sense.
It all makes sense. It all and the scary part of that is I asked a question like, hey, is this reversible? Like if you've had a high sodium diet for a long time and then you cut out sodium, can your arteries recover? No. It's pretty much permanent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you don't want that. I mean, you probably get away with it for a while, but as you get older, that'll be the thing that could also get you as well. But the restrictions are not like 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Most people, when you get them to track food, they're around about there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. People aren't going drastically over unless they are.
And if you do, it's probably for like one day or two when you've, eaten a shitload of
It's
KFC
one of those
or
things
something.
that, like, to our taste, apparently our taste buds adjust based on how much salt we need. So, like, when you have salt, sometimes you're like, oh, that's a lot of salt, tastes gross. And sometimes you, like, salt your food and you're like, oh, didn't really taste the salt, but you could have put the same amount on. Your body's sense of salt as you eat it, the taste, it changes based on how much you need.
Oh, like dehydration and stuff like that?
Yeah,
as well?
like your sodium level's low,
Yeah.
you don't taste this, you might use the same amount of salt and you don't taste that level
But
of
your
salt.
sodium level might be high and then you eat something salty and you're like, oh.
Yeah, and you really taste the salt. And so
right.
you don't, again, go for more salt, right?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Good
So
system.
it's for the most part, self-regulated. And I think where some of the foods are bad is that, like, it's hidden so well in foods that are really processed that you don't really get that sense of salty taste.
Yeah.
But you get the
Yeah,
consumption of sodium, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I think sometimes when you have like a burger and chips, for example, the chips, it's super, oh my God, the chips are so salty, right?
Yeah.
And then if you were to track the burger as well, which doesn't taste like salt at all, it probably has the same
more
amount of
than-
salt in it than the
Yeah,
chips
yeah,
do. And you're like,
yeah.
what? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But yes, it's hidden in there. Other reasons I'll just quickly list. Reduction on stress, depression, anxiety. Those are mental benefits, and those are pretty well researched in that exercising in general have an improvement on, I guess, your well-being, mental well-being. We've got enhanced self-esteem. Again, sometimes I just feel like even if you go through a period of time where you're not actually seeing physical changes happening in your body from exercising, like, because sometimes the process can be quite long, right? Sometimes you'll go through phases of just killing it, getting good results. Other times you're just kind of going through the motions.
Yeah.
I feel like, where are you at the moment?
Yeah,
I feel like
just-
Sachin and I are kind of just going through the motions with our training.
Well, now that
I can dunk now.
I feel like I'm always going through the motions unless I'm training for something.
Yeah, which is a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you got to create artificial reasons. But generally, I mean, the fact that we still are exercising means you have probably got something you're training towards, even if that is just training towards not going backwards rather than going forwards, right? But I feel like even in those situations, your self-esteem is improved just from the act of exercising, right?
Yeah.
You feel good about yourself
Even if you are just
from
maintaining.
just doing it.
Yeah.
The run, the workout, whatever it is, makes you feel good about yourself because you achieved something and you did it, right? I guess as you get older, you're no longer doing as many social events usually as what you used to. So generally people stop, playing sport at a certain point.
Yeah.
You might stop when you become, you finish your junior sports or whatever. You might continue on a little bit later.
Most people just have work as like their social thing. That's
Work
it.
takes over, right?
Yeah.
Work takes over all the other things. But I don't think that's a good thing because,
No.
again, if your whole social network is
Just work.
you're not staying at that job forever, most likely. I mean, some people still
Some
do
people
these
too,
days.
Yeah.
But
Purely
eventually,
probably for that reason. They
Maybe.
have no friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Could be that.
yeah, I think over time your friendship group diminishes and then, you throw other things in the mix, like the difficulties of organising things with those small group of friends when they've got kids or whatever, their own work commitments and things like that. Trying to have some social outlet I think is usually pretty valuable
Yeah.
for mental health.
And you see this develop in our clients, which I think is really interesting. Like our older clients that start with us, some of them you see start with us and they don't have much social skills or desire to sort of connect with other people. And the longer they train with us, the more they connect with other people, the more they talk. And the more you realise that, hey, these people aren't just coming here now for like training and exercising and I want to lose 2 kilos or I want to lose 4 kilos or like the result, right? They're coming now for the social side of stuff, which sometimes for us as coaches is hard for us. It's difficult because what the fuck are you doing? But like, they don't
stick to the timer.
Stick to the timer. Push yourself on the weights, or like, you know,
if you can have a conversation while you're exercising,
I know.
Trying hard enough.
The amount of times someone's talking to me while they're doing leg sets, I'm like, you should be in too much pain to be talking right now.
Yeah. And you know, that I guess is like they're getting some training done, which is good. It's more than nothing, and then it's like they're getting actually what is probably for them more beneficial than training.
Yes,
is the social aspect of training.
Which I guess leads me into another fact, which is, and again, I think the reason why I mean, I don't know if we should share this information, but I'm going to anyway. Nah, it's fine. We talk about it all the time. Is that we do the 2-week trial. We can usually tell 100%. Within those 2 weeks who's actually going to last, right? And it's not to do with how sick their bench press is if they're going to stick around.
Or whether or not they've been able to exercise in the past. Like, are they good at exercise? Do they pick it up?
No, it's
nothing to do with that. It's like, how well do you integrate with the group socially?
Yeah. Do you try and get to know other people? Do you talk to people, or do you go stand in a corner looking at the wall? That's a really good indicator for us of whether someone.
It's unfortunate because I think it feeds itself as well, right?
Yeah.
Like us as coaches know that, like, hey, this person's probably not going to stick around. I get the vibe. I get that vibe. So if they were savable in the sense that, like, hey, we could have done more ourselves to give them something more to then can get them to continue training, take out the money side of, like, we've got a member that pays a membership, like could we done more to convince them to come on board and stay on board for longer? Unfortunately, when we get the vibe that they're probably not going to, I reckon I'll put in less effort, and I think it's natural, right? It's not that we're doing it maliciously. I think it's an emotionally
we feel like they've already
thing.
made up their mind, so there's no point in us trying.
And why would we put in the emotional effort required? It's almost like you put, and I think we're conditioned to it. You've been a coach for long enough, you're conditioned to it. Don't put your heart on your sleeve and give people everything when they're not going to be with you potentially, right? For a long time.
Yeah, I guess in a way. Or I also think sometimes that it's hard to, I think we also try our hardest to spread our energy and help out everyone as equally as we can, because we run a small group sort of system. But sometimes if part of the, like, you know, if they've got the help they need on technique, they know how to do the workout, all the standard stuff has been covered, and we've helped out as much as we can as just trainers. At that point, it actually means that if they're not socializing with the group around them, or, you know, even one person next to them, then in fact, instead of giving equal attention now, we now have to give extra attention to come up with conversations, right? Which then means you're also putting more effort in to someone, you're taking effort away from everyone else in the group, and you know they're still not going to stick around because they're only talking to their coach, and I should be
talking to everyone equally.
And also
and coaching.
my skill set is not so incredible that I can't be replaced. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm not going to be there every night. I'm not going to be there every session that person's in. Fun fact that I was going to get to is the 90% of people prefer to exercise in a group or with a partner. Which
I think even if someone, I reckon, in our group settings, even if they find one other person that they connect really well with and can like, no, I'm going to come to this time and I know I'm going to see this person every single time at this time if I come at this time, or they sign up with a friend or they sign up with their partner, way more likely to have good adherence to training.
Yep. And I don't have the fact on this, but I think that there are some stats on having people on your side. So some people, like, number one, priority should always be that you get your partner.
Yeah.
But if they refuse and you've tried your hardest and they're not on board,
Yeah.
then you've got to find someone else, right? And so
What if you're single? It's a bit fucking racist.
racist.
Wow. Maddie's created her own race of girl powers.
So if you don't have a partner to work out with, find a partner.
Find a partner.
And then work out with them.
Find a friend.
Find someone
There's
with a similar
apps
goal.
for that, Madison.
Yeah.
There's apps out
Yeah.
there now.
So you look for a partner to have a similar goal to you, work together with exercise. Again, we're not just talking about gym now. You know, it could just be going on a walk
Yeah,
every
yeah.
night
Yeah.
in summer, something
Yeah.
like that. If you can't get that, then, you know, if you've got kids, that's an option.
get that.
If you can't get that, then you've got friends, that's an option. And if you can't
What if
have
you got no
that,
friends?
then you sign up to a damn gym.
You sign up,
You make
sign up
friends.
to our gym
make
because we'll give you
friends
some
at a
friends.
gym.
I'll
Yeah.
be your friend.
And
We're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We try to be friends as
We try
well.
to be
We
friends.
don't. We obviously don't avoid that. We love having conversations with people and
Yeah.
on that level, but also we kind of go, hey, like, I can't stand and have a 1 hour convo with you because I got other people to get to,
Yeah,
other
yeah.
things to do. So it is good and it's
Yeah.
preferred if you also, you know, chat to someone near you, chat to someone in your session, something like that. And it doesn't have to be our gym, any gym, but I think the vibe of a gym is also something you should look out for when
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
looking at signing up at any
100%.
gym.
Yeah.
The vibe, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to work at Good Life, Sasha
Yeah.
and I, and apparently the vibe there has significantly
Diminished.
over the years.
There is no
We're not
vibe.
saying it was us, but there is a correlation.
Yeah. Definitely wasn't me. The one other fact I wanted to go on this before we move on is the scary fact, which is that 50% of people drop out of doing exercise in the first 6 months. So
Yeah.
half people that start
Start. 50%.
don't continue on after they don't make it to 6 months.
What do you reckon the main reasons?
Yeah, that's
Like,
what I was getting to.
what do we as coaches see? What could we have done better? What could they have done better? What do you reckon reasons people stop training?
Too hard.
It's in the too hard basket. Yep.
Priority. Like it's not a priority.
It's not a priority. Yep. Other things pop up.
Love that one.
Yep.
Time management.
Yep. I don't have time because that's an easy
Yep.
reason not to go to the gym.
Yep.
I think you've nailed it, Mads. And I've
Yeah.
got some stats on those exact things. you
Really?
said. Yeah,
Wow.
I
Did
knew
you
exactly
look
what
at-
No, I did not.
You
You didn't
copied
look,
his
you looked at
homework.
my notes,
I
bro.
didn't.
You can't even read these words. Reasons people don't exercise:
Yeah.
lack of time, 69%. That's the excuse.
Oh,
right?
so they did a survey to ask people.
Survey
Yeah.
on the reasons why, like
Yeah.
what are the barriers to exercise? And
Yeah.
the most common answer given is lack of time.
Yeah.
About 69% of people say that.
But everyone has the same 24 hours.
Yeah, it's crazy
Corey,
that,
shoot your
isn't it?
motivational speech we were talking about before.
TED Talk
TED
with
Talk.
Corey.
About this specifically, have I
No, no.
ever mentioned? Do you want me to come up with one?
Yeah, just on the spot, come up with a motivational speech.
Time
about
is relative. Einstein, general
No.
theory of relativity.
No.
Look into it.
What?
Physics. Time
Physics.
is relative to the observer.
Yeah.
That's a physics-related
It's a
thing. We're
physics
not going to
thing.
get into that.
We're not doing a physics
Should I
podcast.
Google it after?
If you
Oh,
want. but
mate,
you,
you'll be
won't-
there. You'll go
be there for a long
You'll be there a
time.
long time.
Really?
It's the
I'm
one- you can-
intrigued.
it's one
It
of the
won't feel
hardest-
like a long time to us, but for you, it will.
You actually time goes slower for you if you're not moving than if you're actually moving. But we won't go into that.
Yeah,
It's to do with.
I don't know. My sleep
particles.
goes very fucking fast. I'm
Oh,
not
that's,
moving.
That's
Sleep,
very
yeah, that's a good
humorous,
point.
Mads.
Yep.
Very humorous joke.
Well done.
Second reason, lack of energy. And then our third most common reason is lack of motivation. So
Yeah.
nailed it, Mads.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
You
didn't
know what I
mention
don't
energy.
like about the lack of energy one? Like, yes, that's the number. That's the number 2 reason why people don't go to the gym. Yeah.
Yep.
Is that by going to the gym,
But that
you're
falls
going to
under
feel like
priority though, because like I don't have energy to go to work. Most people probably don't, but they still do that because
to.
they have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a priority because they need to pay their bills.
I reckon once you get to a gym and you're there, like, and you start doing something, you'll feel more energetic.
Exercise increases your energy,
Yeah.
and that is also on here. When it comes to lack of time, if you actually look into someone's schedule,
Yeah.
you'll quickly realize they do have the time.
They have a lot of time.
Everyone says they don't have time, but
Yeah.
if you looked at their, even if you just looked, you
if
take
you just
out
looked
TV,
at their screen time,
you take away TV,
Screen time.
take away TV show time, sitting on the couch time, whatever it is, that what you do after work, which is generally, TV or phone. If you take away TV though, and you just told someone to go into their settings and let's look at your screen time,
Yeah.
you have time.
You got time.
social media scrolling, that sort of stuff. You might think you don't do that very often, but if you were to look at your total screen time for the week, it's significantly more hours than you could spend in the gym.
You've got 3 hours to go to the gym 3 times.
Oh, you got an hour.
Quite
You've got an
easily.
hour
Yeah.
3
Easily.
times a week. Yeah.
Yep.
Which is, I mean, what's the stat? 4%. 1 hour of a day is 4% of your day, right? 4%.
4%, that's
you can
it.
find 4% in your day to do something, right? Even including travel times. You can
That's
make,
why you
can
can't
make that work.
outrun a
Man,
bad
just trying to do the
diet.
maths in her head. I could
That's
just see
why
it.
you can't outrun a bad diet as well, and the 4% in the gym, but the other...
You're
90.
only here 4% of your day,
Yeah.
best case.
Yeah.
And that's not,
Yeah.
you're not training 7 days a week, so it's less than 4% a week.
If you're an athlete, you are.
Well, they still would have a rest
You-
day,
Whoa.
I think,
Put
one
them
day.
away. They look at you. You're tan today, man. So I just
Yeah.
realised. Birthday
Do
tan.
they look better? Do they look
Yep.
bigger?
Not really.
Lack of energy
Because you're an
Haven't trained.
endurance athlete.
is
Yeah, that's
mostly
alright.
mental, right? Lack of energy is mostly mental. I think we can agree on that. Like, because as soon as you start to do something, you realise that you've got more energy.
Yeah.
You don't have less
Yeah.
from exercising. So fatigue is kind of not ever really physical. Like, there's some conditions
there is
that's
some
chronic
yeah.
fatigue, for
I
example.
think Ned, old mate, would say differently, but that's fine.
Ned's got fatigue now
Yeah.
because he's run 1600k.
Yeah.
Well, run.
What?
Some of it was walking, definitely, but
A lot of it was walking by the end.
Some
I
of it
think.
was...
I think it's
I don't know
shuffle.
what that was.
He's
Yeah.
done now. Yeah.
Did he finish
he's
this
done.
morning? I think he
Yeah.
finished
He
overnight.
finished. I saw it. Good on you.
Have you guys watched the
If you're
reel?
watching it,
Have you watched his reel?
no.
Oh, I almost threw up.
I think I started watching it,
Of
but it was
like a-
long, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
watch
Oh,
it.
like a compilation of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll watch it soon.
Yeah. Good on him. What did he end up raising?
8 million?
I think when I saw it yesterday, it was 1.7, so it
Yeah.
might be more now.
Yeah.
But good effort.
Anyways, I think we should...
Final bit before we wrap it up.
Yep.
Yep.
Is we've given people the reason why people don't,
Yep.
or they stop, or they don't stick with it. What is the solution? That's a good way to wrap it up.
Don't be a lazy
How do we overcome these problems, right? So
lazy. What?
don't be
Madison.
lazy is always what we tell ourselves, but also better. You can say that about yourself. Doesn't mean it doesn't get you any closer to doing anything about it,
Yeah.
right? So
How do we
action.
reduce the
How do you
barriers?
action,
Yep.
right? So out of the top 3 main reasons, which number 1, lack of time. How do you solve that? It's
I
not
think-
actually a real thing, right? For most people.
It isn't, but maybe it is looking at your schedule and going,
Yeah.
hey, how much time do I have left over? Where can I fit it in?
The initial action,
Yeah.
like it should be with anything that you plan to do with your life.
Yeah. Just
Is-
fitting it into schedules.
Plan it out.
Yeah.
Like actually look at it. Like
Yeah.
until you actually look at your schedule, write it down.
Yeah.
Look at your day. Look at your day Monday
Got a
to
grey
Sunday.
app for you.
It's expensive.
Yeah.
Just
you paying
write
for
it
that?
down.
Yeah, it's
Really?
like $40 a month.
Fucking hell.
Not cheap. Yeah.
So, but that is the initial step,
It is
right?
the initial step. Yep. And I think you'll find that you've got plenty of time to fit it in.
Plenty.
What about the second thing? What was the second thing?
Energy.
Energy. And how was that?
Just fucking eat like an adult. That will help you, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Food is one contributing factor to low energy. I think, a lot of people,
2, sleep.
Sleep. I
Gotta go
think.
sleep.
which is part of planning out what your schedule
Yes.
looks like
Yep.
and going, okay, where do I fit
So
sleep
that's a
in there?
catch-22. You can't do one thing without the other.
Man, look at that.
Wow.
We have
Look at you go.
fully come full circle here.
Yeah.
Come full circle. I think a more serious answer on lack of energy is, again, going through the process of figuring out why that is. Is it that you're so inactive currently that you feel low energy?
Yeah.
And your body wants a bit of exercise? Maybe
Yep.
just the first part is
Initial.
just starting small.
Yeah. And
Seeing
it
how
could
you
just be
respond.
could be going for walks.
Generally, like you go on a walk, you
Yep.
realise, oh, I actually feel better for this,
Yep.
not worse.
Which
and your
probably
energy
links to a lot
improves.
of like mental health.
And I think that the first step, which always should be to start exercising, is that it stacks into, now that I'm exercising, I probably should eat better. Now that I'm eating better, I also
we
feel
talked
better.
about this
Habit
last
stacking.
episode. Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final one being lack of motivation. And I think we do this one, and we do this one as part of our
Motivation
coaching
doesn't
process.
exist.
Motivation is not the problem.
It's not a thing.
It's, well, in a way it is, but it's a consequence of lack of discipline, right? But how do we still solve the motivation problem? I think it's same thing, it's planning. Well,
Yeah.
what is your goal?
What's your goal?
If you've
How are you
actually
gonna
got
go
a
there?
goal that you care about deeply, Motivation's
what is your
not the
why?
issue.
Like
'Cause
you just have to come back to
Yeah.
what's your why.
Yeah.
if you can't think of your why, or your why is sort of
Then find a why.
diluted and you're not really sure, then no wonder you struggle with motivation.
Yeah.
You don't even know why you're exercising right
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
If you don't know why you're doing something, why would you do it?
Yeah.
So I think
I think getting yourself a good coach. We've got a couple of great ones at Evolution.
Speak for yourself.
There's going to be silence of people listening on the audio, but Corey's looking around and trying to find a good coach. That understands how you're motivated. Because I think that's what we do well with our clients, if you think about it. As we get to know them through our coaching process, we understand what motivates them. We understand when they're falling off track, how do we just nudge them back in the right direction? Because a lot of, you can't have someone there all the time to hold your hand and drag you to the gym. It's just not realistic. And there are a few people in the world that can afford that and have personal coaches that look after them in that way. For most people, what they need is someone that can just nudge them back in the right direction, and give them, I guess, what they need to get back into it. Because we hear that phrase a lot, and as much as sometimes when I hear it, it's a little bit frustrating because you didn't really fall off the bandwagon. Some people, when they tell me, "Oh, I need to get back into it," they only really didn't train for a week.
Yeah.
You're not getting back into it, mate. You just didn't train last week. I think that's all people need for motivation sometimes. Like, do you have a support person that can pull you up and you can have a good relationship with them, even if they're pulling you up?
When you can't physically do that
you
yourself.
said you were going to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah.